Listen, we wanted to tailor this first topic to you, Commander, because it is a hot one. Prince William, of all people, is weighing in on the space tourism debate, saying entrepreneurs should focus on saving Earth rather than trying to find another place to live somewhere out there in the galaxy. Well, obviously, Commander, you're the first person we want to hear from on this. Does he have a point? What is the value of space tourism?
Well, I very much agree with the Prince. And in fact, I'm a direct contributor to the Earthshot Prize.
Wow. What?
And have been working with them. But at the same time, you know, how much of what we understand about the Earth and our environment and our climate comes from the little tiny satellites we have up there that are, you know, measuring the size of the Greenland ice cap or the temperatures of the oceans, or, you know, it's really hard to measure the health of the world from down here on the surface. So, you know, it's not like just one or the other. It's kind of both. And tourism is a tiny, tiny piece of space exploration and space understanding. So, and at the same time, a lot of those entrepreneurs that are putting their time and money into space tourism were inspired to do what they do by space flight, and they spend a lot on philanthropy. So, I mean, we obviously got to regulate it and sort it out.
Commander Hatfield, do you think it's worthwhile to even separate those two things even further, like between space tourism, which I feel still at this point is like available to the 0.001%, and space exploration, which you said so eloquently, the idea that we know the only reason we know that we're in a code red environmentally, not the only reason, but a large reason, is because we have this grand view from space.
Yeah, I've been around the world, you know, thousands of times, and be able to actually understand our planet. Everybody has their own skewed view by living locally, and the space view that helped kick off the entire original environmental movement. Those views of our planet as one closed place. And you've got to inspire people. I was speaking in a school in North Battleford, actually, just earlier or late last week, and to be directly talking to the students, what inspires young people? What do they see as potential for the future? How can we solve the serious problems that we have? You've got to have that piece that shows people a different future than the one that's right around them. But at the same time, you've got to balance it. You know, there were almost 40 million airline flights a couple of years ago in 2018, where there were just over 100 space flights. And so, you know, you've got to balance the two at some place that makes sense for sustainability. And we're thinking about it and regulating it. But boy, it sure is popular in the media right now to, you know, make a big noise about a couple new industries going on. So, you know, it just needs a more balanced view, I think.
I'm glad you're talking about balance, Commander Hatfield, because, you know, when I see the space tourists, the space billionaire tourists that we've seen so far, it seems like they go up for a day.
No, 10 minutes.
Okay, there. I was generous with a day. 10 minutes, take a selfie, and then they come back. And the resources that are used on that one trip, like you were, I think, up there for 166 days. Lots of science was done on your tour, right? Like you were sending back information. That information is going to inform generations of future scientists. I think about a film like First Man, starring Ryan Gosling. I know it's a film, but what that film did was show people how much work on the ground goes in before you get up into space. And I feel like with these guys, again, it's one or two dudes eating up a whole bunch of fossil fuels, going up for 10 minutes. It seems like such a waste. How do you feel about that? Like, you know, tell us the truth. Give us the real.
Okay, just among ourselves here.
Lady, it is such an important question to answer because people have their own perceptions. But space travel, all of space travel, putting up our Earth, monitoring the ability to understand our climate, telecommunications, GPS satellites, all of that, it is 0.00006%. Like that's like a millionth of our global CO2 production. And so, you know, how much does Earth tourism fight with Earth science? They're sort of like, they're not really the same thing at all. We have to decide how much tourism, what's the climate impact of all that. You know, a cruise ship creates 150 tons of CO2 every day. But we're okay with cruise ships. And, so we just need to put it all properly into balance. Plus, if you look at one of the first people to fly as a space tourist, like Sarisha Bandla, who was born in India, came to the United States to try and make a success of herself, got an advanced education, and now had a chance to see the world from above the atmosphere, and is now doing huge work in outreach, talking at schools, people, talking to people. I mean, you can just focus on the billionaires that enable the technology. But I think to some degree, you're missing the point. Look at the other people that are involved and look how it balances in society. And we still have to regulate it and sort it out. Absolutely. But it's not just a one-sided story, I don't think.
Can I ask something
So
super
what do you
fast?
think?
Oh, go ahead, Aisha. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, what are your thoughts then? I know that it is a small, and obviously media is going wild with all these billionaires going into space, and you're saying it's actually quite a small percentage of the whole thing. But what do you think about the comments that William Shatner made talking to Prince William about the fact that he's somehow missing the point, and that that space tourism, space exploration is a great way for them to find ways to take industries that are polluting the earth and then move those to places outside of the Earth's atmosphere? From when I heard it, I was like, I feel like that's also part of the problem. We're just taking pollution and moving it slightly off of our planet and doing the same thing we did here. But again, I'm not an astronaut. I could one day play one on TV perhaps, but I'm not an actual astronaut. So I would love to hear from you, Commander Hatfield, or Chris, like you've given us permission to say, which just gives me so much joy. Okay.
Well, thanks, Aisha. It's really hard to move our heavy industries off the surface of the Earth. That'd be nice if we could put them on the moon, but just the cost of transportation, it's not a particularly practical pipe dream, I don't think. Power generation, though, maybe if we can collect solar power where the Earth's not in the way and then beam it down to the surface of the Earth. We've never been able to do that before because rockets were so complicated and expensive. But the new rocket that SpaceX is building, Starship, is a big, heavy lift, 100% reusable ship. And that then maybe could allow us to put solar collectors up there that just collect the energy from the sun without casting a shadow on the Earth and beam that power down to Earth. So it's kind of a very cool technology, but you have to push the rocket technology to its very edge. And it's so much more efficient than it was even when I flew in space. So, and when you make it efficient enough, then some people are going to want to go for tourist rides. But that's like a little gnat on the edge of everything else that's going on in space.
Commander?
It's just, on the last thing is Bill Shatner. Sure, I mean, he said some stuff. I'll let him talk to Prince William. But did you listen to just how changed his worldview from even his 10 minutes in space, his understanding of just how thin and fragile our atmosphere is and how empty and eternal space is. I mean, he's 90 and it kind of shifted his worldview. And that little shift of worldview is a really important piece of this also.
I think what I wanted to just quickly ask, because we've been skirting around it, is money. Because all I hear in all of this is lovely, but it takes money. And I think about the billions of dollars that just three guys, it's the Elon Musk, it is the Bezos, it is the Richard Branson. If you just put what those three guys have spent in all of their amazing, the research and the development, it's next level, it's sci-fi, it's amazing what they're accomplishing. But if you just put all that money into achieving, I don't know, I turned on the news this morning and we are hitting record carbon dioxide levels on this planet not seen in 3 million years. If that's not enough to frighten you and to frighten a billionaire to say, my $500 million rocket ship, I could do something with that money to immediately affect life. I'm terrified for our future. I think a lot of people are, and I don't like to think that way. But Commander, you talk about resources and research and development and the brains. There are brilliant minds working in space exploration. And what if we shifted all those resources to, I don't know, clean drinking water for the planet, managing climate refugees, and I don't know, reducing CO2s and stopping our polar caps from melting? How much money would that cost versus what it's costing to look out there?
Well, I agree with you 100%, Mel. But looking out there, I think you've got it backwards because almost everything we do in space is looking back here to understand the world better. And for example, Richard Branson has put hundreds and hundreds of millions, I think it's even over $1 billion, into philanthropic causes. And Elon Musk just recently for a carbon capture technology development, because we not only need to stop putting carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, but we need to clean up the carbon dioxide that's already in the atmosphere. He just put $100 million into the Carbon Capture X Prize in order to inspire exactly those people you're saying. So, so you got to draw the balance somewhere. And you fundamentally still need to just inspire young minds and get them thinking about a different future than just sort of the complexities of the present. So it's, you can't just give out one entire part of human technological development and think that you can then just transport it into another. It just doesn't work that way. And so how much is spent on one thing versus the other? The facts are really important. And I wouldn't be in the business if I didn't think that it was very much a strong net contributor to understanding the world itself and what we need to do. So to me, that it's a question everybody needs to answer for themselves. And obviously, we need to try and inspire the wealthy amongst us to be as much of a good philanthropist as possible. Absolutely, we need to do those things.
Oh, wow. I'm so glad we had you here for this chat. I mean, really, you just made our minds expand so much.
Popcorn.